Okay, so today we have the new KTM Adventure 2023. I'm lucky enough to be the very first person to ride this bike from SP Motorcycles. And what a fine looking thing it is too. So, without further ado, let's jump on it and see how it rides. Okay, so first impressions. I definitely feel like I'm sat on the bike as opposed to in it. I feel much taller than the screen. So I know that others have mentioned that winds can be an issue at speed, but we'll see that in due course. So I'm stuck at the traffic lights. Let's have a quick look. We have off-road mode, rain mode, street mode, and rally mode. So I know that this bike has what KTM are calling the demo mode. So when you buy a new bike for 1500 kilometers, you have everything installed on the bike, the quick shifter and rally mode and all the luxuries and gadgets. However, after 1500 kilometers they do take that away and you'll need to buy what they call the tech pack, and that will enable it. I believe you can buy parts of, or you can buy the whole tech pack to have all of it enabled. Me personally, I think that when you buy the bike, if you want the cruise control and the quick shifter and things, you need to just price that in and accept that you just have to pay for that when you buy the bike. It is what it is. So, seating position, I am sat upright. Like I say, I feel like I'm sat on the bike as opposed to in the bike. I definitely feel very tall sat on the bike, which is nice. My feet are a bit more of an acute angle actually, more of a sporty position. But I think the seat is in the lower position. The seat is adjustable, it can go in a high and low position. So perhaps if I adjusted that up, I'd have a little more leg room there. It's not uncomfortable, but it's definitely something to be noted. So low down, the bike feels very smooth actually. 30 miles an hour, third gear. Certainly feels like there's plenty of torque, plenty of poke there to be had, no problem there. And I'm only in street mode. It does sound like a bit of a sewing machine at the minute. A lot of the Euro 5 regulations and all the rest of it, but that can easily be sorted. Very nice can on here. I know these make a very nice noise. Nice smooth light clutch. This one, like I say, is in the initial demo mode, so I have the quick shifter and cruise control and everything already activated, so I'll give that a bit of a try in a minute. So something to note on the KTM 890, the fuel gauge begins at half a tank. So when you fill the bike up, it only shows you the second half. I believe that's something to do with the saddle fuel tanks that split the load low down half each side. So I'm not entirely sure how that works, but that's not a problem. You never need to know your fuel until you're, at least half or 3/4 of the way down. So we're not bothered about that. It does feel like there is zero screen here actually, zero wind protection from back there upwards, so it is right to the bottom of the helmet actually. You're taking the wind straight to the face, which isn't a problem at these speeds, but that could be a problem on the motorway. Well, I'm sure there are a plethora of aftermarket screens and solutions for this now. Dropping down to second. Let's try the acceleration without being too aggressive. Oh, plenty of power there. Wow, that felt urgent, shall we say. And I was not giving it the full beans there in street mode. Wow, that feels like it's got some beans. Let's try this. Okay, so no issues with power acceleration then. Wow, this could be a fun bike when you get used to it. Yes, no problem there. So does feel weirdly different, the handling on this bike. All the weight is low down because of this new type of petrol tank, and it does feel strange actually with it being much lighter at the top. It'll take a bit of getting used to, I think. Not in a bad way, just different. This bike is just begging to be ripped open, and I'm dying to oblige. Some of you may have noticed another motorcycle following along behind. Eve has become curious about the KTM and has decided to come along with me on this test ride. I won't say the quick shifter isn't the smoothest that I've experienced. It does feel like there's a bit of a clunk between gears. The riding position is very good, to be fair, very comfortable. Seat is on the firm side. I know I've seen lots of other people have the complaints about that. I know I've only been on the bike 10 or 15 minutes, so I'm not in a position to moan about that. I don't feel particularly uncomfortable, and again I know that there are a selection of different seats that you can have. I believe KTM do their own comfort versions, and there's the rally one and stuff as well. The nice thing about these KTM 890s is that they're very customizable. Lots of decal kits online and lots of additions and extras that you can add to the bike, so it feels like it's a bike that you could have and grow with over time, so you're not going to get bored too quickly. There's always going to be something you can modify or something you can change. You can change the decals, and of course a lot of it is plastic, all the fairings and stuff, so all of that's very easily replaceable, particularly if you're using it off-road. You know, you can expect to drop it and for it to get a bit tatty, and that's not a problem. You can just replace the plastics, you can replace the decals, so that's a strong plus. So the petrol tanks, as I mentioned, are slung each side of the bike, low down each side of the engine, and obviously those need some protection. So it seems that the bike is actually using the hardened plastic around the petrol tanks almost as crash protection as well. So most people are not fitting crash bars, but it is recommended to fit bark busters, as with most motorcycles. For what they cost and what they can save you, even if it just saves your levers in the event of a drop, you know, that's not the end of your day or the end of a trip. So they are well worth having. But it certainly feels like if you rip that throttle open, it is dying to get on the back wheel. I certainly know in rally mode it will do just that. Seating position is interesting. I am sat upright, my back upright, arms nice and perfect level, to be fair, no problem. But I do feel like my legs are tucked, like on a sports bike. No noticeable vibrations on this bike so far, I'm pleased to report. Interesting to see how it is on the highway, on the motorways. Messing with the rider mode seems to be a bit of a faff, if I'm honest. So I've just changed it to rain mode now. That's definitely dulled down the bike and the throttle response. That was very noticeable right away. Okay, so I'm going to try the rally mode then. Those throttles confirmed. I'm very cautious now because I know that this affects how much slip and stuff and traction control on the rear wheel, and I don't know what the settings are, so we need to be cautious there. So this definitely feels like riding a naked bike. This screen might as well not be there. It is doing absolutely nothing really. I mean, it's keeping it off my chest, I guess, but that's not a problem now, but it might be at speed or perhaps in bad weather. But that's definitely something. It seems like it's probably a bit of a mess too to change that screen when you ride this bike. Okay, so I can see that putting the rally mode on, it's giving me a tiny little sign there, that we can see that, of the rear ABS being off. Okay, so in rally mode you can change the throttle response. And now have rally, I'll turn that off. slip adjuster is on 9, so that is your traction control, or deciding how much the bike will let the rear wheel spin. And of course you can change the ABS mode and the traction control, which I'm not going to do on the road. So it's correct, ABS is now off, which allows me to slide the rear wheel. That's fun, it's like being a kid on a push bike again when you're young. Well, 10 miles or so now on the bike, just down a fairly slow A road, and I have to say actually I quite like this machine. There's lots of modifications you can do to these bikes. I think the first one for me would definitely be that screen, and perhaps lower the foot pegs just a little bit, but that's a personal preference. And you know, I've never bought a bike and not had to adapt it, you know, whether that be putting bar risers on or changing the seat or the screen out the box, because everybody's different. The manufacturer can't design a bike that's, you know, one size fits all. A bit of a slant on the road here, and I've just reached down for the floor and I am on tippy toes, and the reason for that is I can't get my foot in close enough to the bike because the foot pegs stick out exactly where my legs go. So something to note on this bike, it does not have auto cancelling indicators, as I just noticed. Something I missed from my last bike. Not the end of the world, but you need to be aware of it if you're in the habit of letting them turn themselves off. So, street mode back on now, bringing back my ABS and traction control. It is noted on these KTMs that the switch gear and a few bits and pieces do feel a bit cheap. It feels like, you know, like some nice rubber covers here over these would be nice, as you'd expect on a Triumph or a Yamaha. This switch gear looks a bit plasticky, like a child's toy or something. But in the end, do these things really matter as long as they work? Probably not. As long as they have longevity on their side and function well for a long period of time, that's not a problem. But it doesn't feel like a high-end bike. I guess all of that money has gone into the engine, which feels very good, very strong actually. First impressions of this bike are good. So I've just stopped and pulled over to adjust the seat. There's 2 seat heights on this one. It's taken me a good 10 minutes now so far fighting with this, trying to get the seat to locate properly. Whether it's a lack of knowledge or a poor design, I'm not sure yet. But while I got the seat off, thought I'd show you what's here. We do have one of these phone cases underneath the seat, which of course is absolutely useless unless you want to take your phone out of its case, but my iPhone does not fit in there, certainly not in its case. I don't know who come up with these things or why it was ever needed, but not something that I need or want on a bike, to be honest. Anyway, I've now got the seat in the high position. I think it's gone up probably, I don't know, 20 mil, something like that, but it's definitely made a big difference. I now, at 5'7", can just about tippy toe each side of the bike with both my feet down. But I'm fine just putting one foot down on the left and holding the rear brake. That's fine for me, it's no problem. And now my legs have so much more leg room, the angle's less acute. That feels more comfortable for me. But where you gain in performance and urgency, you definitely feel like you're losing out on refinement and comfort for sure. So I've just turned off down a little side road here. Hopefully I'll find a quiet spot somewhere and I can do a little walk around with the bike for you guys and show you what it looks like. Okay, so here she is, KTM 890 Adventure. Comes with Scorpion Rally STR tyres, Those tyres are well known and have been used on adventure bikes for some time now. So this one has the seat that comes in 2 parts, as you can see. I believe the R has a single piece rally style one. You do get these KTM handguards here. I think they probably would hold up on a small drop, no problem at all. And if you see what I mean about the petrol tanks being slung down low, and then we got this protectors down here, so hopefully that's sufficient in the event of a small drop, a bit of light off-roading. We got the WP Apex forks. This year now they are adjustable on the 2023, just with the clickers at the top there. So we have now the new wing bits added here, the new bodywork, so that the headlight doesn't stick out as much. Nice spoked wheels. Hideous exhaust that's dying to be changed as soon as you receive it. But yeah, a nice looking bike. I'm not sure if I've got this seat wrong or not. I'm sure you'll be able to tell me in the comments, but that does leave quite a gap there underneath, so I'm sure that can't be right, but everything's clipped into place, so surely that can't be right. So inspecting the bike close up, I have noticed, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the camera, but on some of these fittings there are a lot of marks here, and I noticed that there are some scratches actually inside here, so probably somebody with a sloppy spanner hand has scratched this during assembly. But yeah, build quality is the #1 concern for me when buying a KTM. I'd be interested to see one or hear from somebody who's had theirs for a year or two. You know, how are the fixtures and fittings looking? What problems have you had with yours, and have they been dealt with well by the dealer? That's what's important. If the aftercare and after sales is there and they want to help you, then it's not so much of a problem. So there's adjustable rear suspension here manually, not a problem. I found on my last bike I had fully electronic suspension, and very rarely did I use it, and I paid a premium for that. This bike picks up very well indeed. Plenty of power. Ready to race is right. This bike is ready to go at all times. You can feel it is dying to have its neck wrung. So joining the dual carriageway now, we'll see what the wind deflection's like at speed, and I'll try out the cruise control as well. So cruise control comes in very useful, particularly when you're doing the long tours. I find these average speed cameras on the motorway everywhere now, it's a real nuisance, constantly checking down at your speed and watching out for cameras. So when you enter into these areas, you can set the cruise control to the speed limit, and now you can relax, and it becomes a much more pleasant experience. So for me, looking through this middleweight adventure tourer style segment of bikes, it is becoming a little bit frustrating. I mean, this bike has a great engine. Why can't they make a nice smooth quick shifter to go with it on the level of Triumph or Yamaha? Every bike just seems to have its pitfalls, and it's such a shame that you can't almost build your own bike to your specification by taking apart from each bike, take the best of each manufacturer and build the unicorn bike. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Nothing I massively dislike about this bike at all, and I think this will be a very fun bike to own, provided that reliability is there. But it doesn't matter which brand of bikes you look at. If you look on forums, you're always going to find problems if you go looking for them. How the problems are dealt with is what sets brands apart, I think, and that may come down to your individual dealerships. Always worth looking at the dealership's reviews when you're going to buy a bike from them. So don't just think about, if you're buying a Yamaha, don't think about the Yamaha brand. Have a look at the dealership you're buying from and look at their reviews. See how they're treating their customers, see what people think. So arrived back now at SP Motorcycles here in Exeter, KTM dealership. We also deal in Motor Guzzi and Aprilias as well. Very nice guys, very helpful so far. Highly recommend if you're in Exeter to come by and have a look. So thanks for watching, joining us on the road once more. Leave a like, comment, subscribe underneath. See you on the road.